Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We're on lesson 29. We're supposed to finish today the part about perception of reality in the book Kabbalah for beginners that we study along with at the moment. You have the link. If you don't have the book, you have the link for the PDF in the description box. What you also have is a link to the whole playlist of this series on YouTube, so you can watch it from the beginning in case you just jumped on board. And you also have an in-depth course that you can join, also free, in the KBU environment. That's about the description box. Now we have some questions from previous lesson. We got some questions in the comments. I'll try to refer to that. Arash is asking, how do I ask you a question? Just through this comment section? Yes, through this. In any video you like. Doesn't matter if it's lesson number 1 or 28. John is asking, please explain the relation between the world of Asiya, Malchut, the fourth stage of dissension, and our world. Is our world the world of Asiya and Malchut? Are we in the fourth stage, or is our world the world of the physical and the other spiritual? Okay, these are like... Sorry, that was the wrong the wrong screen. These questions are a bit advanced for this course. Not sure we covered this stuff in this series, but again, if we have the creator, okay, so we have the world of infinity in which there is complete adhesion between the creature and the creator. They are one. Then we have different levels of concealment of the creator. In Hebrew, it is called a world. World comes from the word olam, alama, concealment. So these are like filters on the creator, and these are called I didn't finish this, and these are called Adam Kadmon, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Okay, and they are built according to the structure that we refer to in when we talked about what happens in the world of Ein Sof, of infinity. Let's call it Ein Sof, it's more accurate. So in the world of Ein Sof, what happens actually is a process that is called 4 phases of direct light, in which like a DNA of creation is being made, like a pattern according to which everything in creation will operate according to. And this pattern is called the 4 phases. So you have, together with phase 0, you have actually 5. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we call it the tip of the Yud, and then we call it the Yud, K, Vav, K, which are like letters in the Hebrew alphabet that symbolize this process. And according to that, so we have the worlds. So the world, like Ak is like tip of the Yud, Atzilut is like the Yud, and then Bria is like the first Hey, etc., etc. And then the question that Johan is asking is actually, there are many questions here, but first of all, is the word of Asiya, Malchut? Okay, what I wanted also to say is that this structure of the verses are also called Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Zeranpin, and Malchut. Okay? So, as you can see, Malchut refers to, Malchut, or the last Hey, refers to the Olam of Asiya. So what is the relationship between them? So this is a bit complicated to explain, but let's say that everything is built according to the same DNA. So I don't know, maybe a good example is colors. So you have an apple which is red, and maybe you have a car that is red, and you have a flower that is red, and you have blood which is red. So these things have in common something, and they have other things that are not in common, okay? And yes, it's the 4th phase, but again, the world of Asiya is not like Malchut of Ein Sof, which is not like Malchut, like the world of Asiya is not exactly like the Malchut of Ein Sof, and it's not like the Malchut in the world of Asiya, but they have something in common, okay? Which, for example, Yetzirah don't have in common with Malchut. Like the same kind of flavor, or the same kind of color or frequency. It's like it's a specific pattern or form in which the creature connects with the creator. That's more or less the point of that. Because these are actually different ways in which the vessel the kli is assembled compared to the light, like a combination between the light and the vessel. Another, and there was a question about this world. So sometimes Kabbalists refer to this world as part of Asiyah or the ending of Asiyah, but actually our world or this world is like a fiction. How do you say fictitious? I don't know. Like it's like a imaginary world that doesn't really exist in spirituality because it doesn't have the creator in it in a way that you can attain it. Meaning that it's a world that operates completely according to egoistic attributes. So is that true? This is a question because we see that in nature everything is working in connection, and we know that all of reality is actually being held by the same force, the force of bestow. But but a world is compared to how we attain that, and in our attainment, when we are in a state of control of the egoism, meaning that we feel only ourselves, we cannot ascend above that, we cannot connect to others, we cannot attain the quality of bestow. So we attain like this very corrupted imaginary reality that sometimes Kabbalists refer to as a dream that we need to wake up from, like a bad dream. Another question, you implied that the Sefirot are related to the sixth sense. Just to clarify this and how it relates to changing our intention. So again, Sefirot coming from this structure that I talked about. No need to mix this stuff in the beginning because it doesn't, I don't see how it helps. I can explain that, but anyway, so Keter is like Keter, and then you have Chokhmah, Binah, and Zeranpin is divided into 6. So you have Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Od, Yesod, and then you have Malchut. So you have 10 Sefirot. So I refer to that. It's like, again, it's like this structure, these 10 attributes, 10 forms in which the creature and the creator can come into connection. And what is the relation to the sixth sense? So the sixth sense, or more accurately, the intention to bestow, is about operating differently in the reality. Instead of identifying with this protein body, with this animal inside of me that I define as myself, I connect to others, I rise above that, and I attain the force that actually operates nature, like, which is called the creator. Okay, something that because I build in the connection with the others a very similar frequency or attribute to him, it's like resonance. So he's like resonating in the sense or in the kli I've built. So this is the sixth sense, and the sixth sense, like everything else, is built according to the structure of the 10 Sefirot. Well, hopefully that answers it. If not, feel free to ask, and I'll be glad to elaborate even more. Now, let's see if so far we had questions coming in. Hey Eric, hey Nida, Alex. Okay, no questions here. Len is asking, are all the stages you show simply advancement of restriction and intention? Let's say that they are all development of the relationship between the kli and the light, okay? From above downwards. One World Music came early today, even before Blake. Are you ready for my question? Teaching, you know what's coming. Yeah, I know that, but are you going to ask about... No, you're asking about something. Is it true Israel found the red heifer with no blemish? Okay, I don't know what's the red heifer. I don't have any clue what's that. We haven't talked about it in the course. And let me find the translation. Maybe it's like... it's like the red cow. No, this is complicated stuff. So what does it mean, a cow in spirituality, which is like a certain type of animal, and what does it mean red compared to white? So you have like the light of mercy, the light of chokhmah. Anyway, it doesn't really help. For the sacrifice. Yeah, okay, but you're asking that like in a corporal way. If you're talking about internal work, so it's another meaning completely. What does it mean, the light of the Messiah? What does it mean, a sacrifice? A sacrifice in spirituality means that you want, in Hebrew, it's called korban. It's come from the word to come closer. So if you want to come closer to the Creator, you actually need to give up of yourself. You need to give up of your egoistic desires in order to be similar to Him. And this is called a sacrifice. It's an action that you actually giving up something of yourself so you can become more like Him. Okay. Okay. So let's continue with the text, I think. So we're on page 114. Two approaches, two paths. We cannot change. Sorry, you have the text like. Let me try to fix that. We cannot change the order of the Shemo, meaning how the information or how the process was recorded for us. This is something that we cannot change. Okay, this relates to what Lane actually asked about the process that we're describing. So actually, from above downwards, meaning from the word of Ein Sof until outward, what was built is actually like records, like a memory, like states of what? Of different connection between the creature and the Creator. Okay, and these are like chain of states. And when we develop from below upwards, we're realizing these records. And this movement is actually felt in us like time. Okay, so we're like moving from between predetermined states, and we call this time. Okay, and that's what they say, that we cannot change the order of the Reshemot because they're coming in a specific order, that in the way that they were formed. That has already been determined on our way down. But we can and should determine what we will do with each of them. If we are passive and simply wait for the Reshemot to change, it will take a long time before we truly experience them. And before that happens, they can cause us great pain. This is why the passive approach is called the path of pain. Meaning that, what does it mean, the path of pain? So if we are will to receive can advance or move in two ways. Okay, so if I just long for pleasure, I have two options. Either I'm being pushed by pain, by emptiness, by a lack, or I am drawn to something better. Okay, and then I experience, it's like the difference between work and gain. And then I experience completely the process differently because I enjoy the effort, the investment. So it's very similar in spirituality, that actually either you are drawn to the source and you want to realize the Shemo as fast as possible to their fullest and to move next to the next degree, or you get stuck, for example, in a certain degree, and then you just accumulate pain, meaning you're getting out of balance with nature, because nature requires you to move from one record, one Shemo to another. So let's say you need to act like you're 30 and you're acting like you're 20. So all this gap between reality demands that you act as a 30-year-old and you're acting as a 20-year-old with the emotion and the brain and the intellect of a 20-year-old. So all this gap is actually your imbalance with nature, and it's caused and it's brought to you as pain, meaning the pain is like it's just a measurement of how far away you are from balancing your current state with nature or with the Creator. And this pain can be felt either as external, meaning that you are that nature presses on you to develop, or it can be felt as an internal pain, meaning something that you're lacking or you don't know exactly what you're missing. So this is called the path of pain. This is a natural. This is usually the natural way. We as a will to receive, we don't really want to move or change anything. We just want to rest, lay down. Look on animals, okay? So they're just resting most of the time. Until when? Until they are feeling hunger or cold or whatever, and then they are compelled to move. This is a very natural way of development, and that's how usually humans develop. We see that a lot with our society. How in society we know that some things are bad, but until they get to this to the like to a critical point in which we cannot suffer anymore the emptiness or the suffering in this current state, we don't change that. And usually if a lot of pain accumulates, then it bursts in a very unhealthy kind of revolution change, either on the individual level or the social level, and this causes sometimes even more pain. So it's not the desired way of development, like from the perspective of the creator. On the other hand, we can take an active approach by trying to relate to each Rishimo as to another day in school, seeking to understand what the Creator is trying to teach us. If we simply remember that this world is our practice field, we will tremendously speed up the passing of the Rishimo. Yes, because we're like in a dialogue with the Creator. Like the world around me, what I feel inside me, are like the way the Creator is speaking to me. And I want through that to connect to Him and to be similar to Him. This active approach is called the path of light because our efforts connect us to the Creator, to the light, instead of to our present state as is the case with the passive approach. Actually, our efforts don't have to succeed. Trying is what matters. By increasing our desires to be like the Creator, because sometimes we don't know exactly what is success, because we imagine success currently according to our level. So let's say if I'm on level X, I imagine success as an egoistic form of what I can imagine on the level of X. Okay, so if I'm a 4-year-old, maybe the best thing for me in 10 years from now is just to eat as many candies as possible. But when I grow up to become 10 years older, then my imagination of what is success completely changes. Okay, so that is also true in spirituality, because we all the time becoming more and more similar to the Creator. We attach ourselves to higher, more spiritual states. Desire makes for progress. The process of spiritual progress is very similar to the way children learn. It is basically a process of imitation. By imitating grown-ups, even though they don't know what they are doing, they create within themselves the desire to learn. Note, it's not what children know that promotes the growth, it's the simple fact that they want to know. Okay, because so many of the times they're just gibberishing their way to adulthood, okay? So they don't have a clue about things, they like getting the words of songs wrong, they talk in concepts that they don't really grasp, they have this weird connection in their brain, and sometimes they think that something is not what it is, or like it's a complete mess if you go inside their head. But the desire to be like they say, what they want to know, or the desire to grow, is what actually promotes them and pushes them forward. The desire to know is enough to evoke in them the next Rishimot, the one in which they already know. Because the Rishimot are connected in a chain, when the present Rishimot exhausts itself and leaves, it pulls in the next Rishimot in line. Thus we are not really learning anything new in this world or in the spiritual world. We are simply climbing back to the future. Yes, so that's why Kabbalah sometimes give allegories that talk about the state as like a remembering or going back, or awakening from a dream, okay? Or like they say here, it's like Back to the Future. Because if you're rising above the limitation of time that we experience in our world, actually you look on the Reshimo, it's something as a change that was already created, and now we're just going back and realizing that. But we're doing that consciously, and that is the added value in our process. If we want to be more giving like the Creator, we should constantly examine ourselves and see if we fit the description that we consider spiritual. In this way, our desire to be more altruistic will help us develop a more accurate, detailed perception of ourselves compared to the Creator. And being more altruistic, meaning identify ourselves more in the synergy, in the connection, and not in the corporal selves. So it doesn't mean to give more of my individual self, because the concept of self should change, and I shouldn't identify it with the protein body. If we do not want to be egoistic, our desires will evoke the Reshimo that will show us what being more altruistic means. Every time we decide that we do not want to use this or that desire egoistically, the Reshimo of that state is considered to have completed its task and moves on to make room for the next. This is the only correction we are required to make. Yeah, nothing else is required from us in this reality. In his book, Shamati Baal Sulam phrases this principle in these words: whereby hating the evil, egoism, in earnest truth, it is corrected. Meaning, I just want to prefer a more connected state, more adhesion with the Creator, over my corrupted ego that wants only for oneself. And then he explains, if two people come to realize that each hates what one's friends hates and loves what and whom one's friends love, they come into perpetual bonding, as a stake that will never fall. Hence, since the Creator loves to bestow, the lower ones should also adapt to want only to bestow. The Creator also hates to be a receiver, as he is completely whole and needs nothing, and reception is a flaw, meaning I'm missing something. Thus man too must hate the matter of reception for oneself. It follows from all the above that one must hate the will to receive bitterly, for all the ruins in the world come only from the will to receive. Through the hatred one corrects it, meaning that if we understand that the ego is the source of all evil and problems and pain, because it is what cuts us off from the Creator and put us in an imbalanced state with nature, then we are ready to move forward and to actually allow nature to operate on us or correct this ego in us. Thus, simply by wanting it, we evoke Reshimo of more altruistic desires which already exist within us from the time we were connected in the soul of Adam HaRishon. These Reshimo correct us and make us more like our Creator. Therefore, desire, the Kli, is both the engine of change, that we want to be like the Creator, and the means for correction, meaning that it's the method that needs to go through a processing from having the intention in order to receive to acquiring an intention in order to bestow. We need not suppress our desires, we simply need to learn how to work with them productively for ourselves and others. Yes, so there's no point of being like an amoeba, stop eating, stop drinking, refine yourself, how do you say, like restrict yourself from sex or money or knowledge, but on the contrary, we just need to learn how to use that in order to bestow to the Creator and to be in adhesion with nature. Okay, and that we finished the part 3 about the perception of reality. Next time we'll start the crisis and correction. Let's see if we have questions for today's lesson before we wrap it up. Wow, we have a lot of questions. I've seen green cats genetically altered. I'm aware of what you asked them. Okay, this is not a question. How do we get our prayers answered? Why do people have the experience of only having some prayers answered and some not? Because you need to have the right prayer, meaning you need to want to be like your next Reshimo. Because if you're a cat and you want to be a dog, it won't happen. Maybe you're colorblind. I don't know why. Maybe I'm colorblind. I'm not sure you're referring to me, but if you ask me, yes, I am. I've been a student of law in counseling for 7 years now. Glad to meet others here. Wow, cool. What would you say is the ultimate goal of this teaching? The ultimate goal of this teaching is to achieve adhesion with the Creator, to reveal Him, to change internally in order to have the sense to sense the Creator. If the soul, Maria is asking, if the soul is one and ego makes us many, how can individual hologram become one by individual's own actions? This is a very cool question. This is like very deep thing. How do you move from analog reality into a digital one, like to an integral one? How do you move from a reality of zero and ones to something which is whole, complete? This is a big thing. We've talked about it in previous lessons a bit, but actually I'll maybe answer that in a different way because we don't have the time to go much deeper into that, although it's a very good question. Think of nature as layers, and different layers have different laws. And the higher layer always includes inside of it the lower layer. So what you refer to as an egoistic individual cut-off reality is a very small spectrum of a higher, more connected, synergetic reality. And how do you move from one layer to another? Then you need to make a leap, like a quantum leap. How do you make this leap? You need to build this critical mass of potential, of spiritual potential, very similar to what electrons do in an atom, that allows you to move to the next level. So we call it a desire, we call it a prayer. So you need to have enough a desire, enough like playing enough like a child in being in a part of a more synergic connected reality. And if you come to critical mass in your efforts, then you jump. Like it's called that the Creator answers your prayer. What are all there is, including the thoughts? Okay, sorry, this is not a question. I mean, we cannot be one individually. Wouldn't we all have changed together then? No, there is a correction of the individual and there is a correction of the whole. So just like each one of us needs to go through a process of correction, meaning moving from an individual perception to this one soul perception, and also the general soul, meaning all of humanity, needs to go through the same process, and these happen in parallel. They're not contradicting one another. Steve is asking, once a person takes the courses Kabbalah Revealed 1 and 2, what is the next step? If you refer to the courses in Kab U, so actually I think you move to the graduate environment, not certain, but at least I know that me and Dan, we teach Pticha and the structures of the worlds to students that actually finished, I'm not sure if they finished 2 or 4 semesters before they move to the graduate program. But you can ask the guys in Kab U. It's very straightforward. Okay, no more questions. So we'll meet again on Thursday morning Israel time or Wednesday evening New York time. By then, have a good day, good night, good evening, and see you next time. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll refer to them next lesson. Bye for now.